Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Droid Life Show episode 73 tonight. With me, a full cast. I'm your host, Kellen, but we have Tim, Ron, and Dave with us. Everybody say hi real quick.
Hey guys, how's it going? Tim here.
Hey, this is Ron.
Hey everybody, Dave.
So welcome back, Ron and Dave. Well, Dave, I don't remember last time we saw you, but Ron,
It was a long time.
welcome back as well.
Ronald.
So big show this week because it's the our Nexus 6 review is now out. You can pre-order it at some places. Some places have been delayed. Anyway, there's lots of Nexus 6 stuff going on. We've also got Lollipop coming out to all sorts of Nexus devices and some non-Nexus devices. Note 4 review is done. Xperia Z3 V review is done. YouTube announced something called Music Key. There's a lot. So let's start first with Nexus 6 review. So I've had it for a couple of weeks now. I have the blue model, the midnight blue model, and we've talked about it. It's obviously a whale. It's a giant device. For the most part, though, actually kind of like it, just because it has this really nice build quality. Even though it is a giant, huge sea creature. It's kind of fun to use, and a lot of that I think is because of Lollipop. Camera's decent, battery's decent most of the time. Performance is pretty good most of the time. I would say it's the nicest Nexus we've ever seen. Best camera in a Nexus we've ever seen. The only problem is you can't really buy it anywhere. Google Play sold out. Motorola sold out. Pre-order through AT&T. With a ship date of next week. T-Mobile canceled their launch date, pushed it a week. Sprint is doing direct sales, I believe, tomorrow. Verizon hasn't mentioned it, neither is US Cellular. So anyways, I'm a huge fan of the Nexus 6. I don't know that it'll be my go-to phone going forward, just because, I mean, this thing, it really is that big. It's fun to use, but I don't know if I can do this. So I'm back on the Moto X for a little bit because it has Lollipop, which we'll talk about in a minute. And so I'm going to see if I miss this or not. I do miss the camera already because this has a better camera than the Moto X. But otherwise, I don't know, the size is kind of scary. I have a white version coming, so when that comes, maybe I'll switch back and then try to decide or whatever. So none of you have the Nexus 6 because you can't get one yet. Dave, you ordered one though, right?
Yeah, I got an order in on that first batch on October 29th.
And you still don't have shipping or
I checked earlier. It's still showing the 21st of November as estimated. So that's not even a guarantee that it's going to leave the warehouse.
That's crazy. So AT&T is telling everyone that theirs will ship, I think, around the 18th, and that's ship. T-Mobile is planning to launch on the 19th now. And Sprint, if they're direct filling, means basically you can go into a store and they'll order it for you. I would imagine those probably won't arrive till the 19th or 20th as well. So it sounds like that's kind of the day. And I think Motorola store orders are showing a similar date. So that's kind of the day, I guess, is the 19th, 20th? Something like that. Anybody have any thoughts, maybe after reading the review or after looking at Play Store listings for the last couple of weeks, or I don't know, what are you guys thinking about Nexus 6? What about camera samples I had, or battery life, or I don't know? Any new thoughts besides what I've just shared?
I mean, I was a big fan of what you did in the review, those pictures.
Somebody talking, because it's really quiet.
What'd you say, Dave? Say again. Nope. All right. Well, I'll go then.
Yeah, Dave.
So anyway, I think the Nexus 6 is great. You know, it looks like a good phone. After all the reviews that I've read so far, I think everyone thinks, Lollipop is fantastic. The overall phone is good, but it's just too big, unless someone really wants a phone that size. Like for me, I'm going to wait for the Moto X on AT&T to get Lollipop, and then I think it'll be the best phone ever. I mean, like to me, the LG G3 was kind of in my thought the phone of the year, just because it had an awesome display. It had the first QHD display on Android here in America, and then you had the 13 megapixel camera. But with the Moto X, it feels good in the hand, and the display is not bad by any means. And the camera might be a little more poor than the Nexus 6, but I think once it gets Lollipop, it's going to be an awesome experience. I think you were the one that showed me, the speed of Lollipop on the Nexus 6 versus the Moto X is quite a bit different.
It is.
So to me, I'm going to stick with the Moto X, with this cool leather back and stuff. It just feels so good. So, hate to say it, but I'm not like a huge fan of the Nexus 6, only because of the size.
Yeah, that size is kind of a killer. So, during my Moto X review, I mentioned how the phone had grown, and a lot of people complained about the new Moto X because we feel like last year's Moto X was such a great size and perfect fit. And so then when the new Moto X came out, I remember kind of complaining. A lot of people were saying, why'd they go bigger? And then I went on to the Nexus 6 for the last 3 weeks or whatever, and now I'm back on the Moto X, and it feels tiny. And I'm talking about the new version. I hold this thing in hand. You could spend a day, I think, with the Nexus 6 and go to any other phone, and it would feel small. I may just go to the Note 4 and just see how small the Note 4 feels because of that thing. It's crazy how big it is. I mean, when people say it's huge, that's not an exaggeration. It is huge. So it's sitting there staring at me. I want to use it because it's a pretty cool phone, but I mean, it's a two-hander all the way. It's so huge. I think I did this last week, but here it is next to the Moto X.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
It's crazy.
What about performance for Lollipop, with the Moto X compared to, say, the Nexus 6?
Yeah, so we were, as a group, we were talking about this kind of off the air yesterday. And so performance-wise, I'll try to cut this story short. Performance-wise, in my review, I mentioned that there's kind of some, I don't want to call it lag, but it's like sometimes you press home or you open the camera or you press the app switcher or you tap on a notification to go into an app, and there's almost like this pause on the Nexus 6, and it does it on the Nexus 9 as well, which is kind of odd. And on Lollipop on the Moto X, that's not there at all. It's the Moto X with Lollipop is crazy fast. I mean, it's every single thing you do, just you whip right through it. Transitions are fast. There's none of that delay. And so one theory on why the Nexus 6 and Nexus 9 kind of have that delay is because they ship encrypted. And apparently a device that ships encrypted with 5.0, you can't unencrypt it. And there's at least a guy on Google Plus that took a Nexus 5, ran a disk read speed test, and encrypted versus unencrypted, and the encrypted version was drastically slower. And so one theory is that performance on the Nexus 6 and Nexus 9 isn't as awesome as it might be on some of these other devices because of that reason. It's encrypted. And I don't know that anyone's fully confirmed that yet, but that could be. So long story short, Lollipop on the Nexus 5 and on the Moto X is crazy fast. On the Nexus 6, it's pretty fast. On the Nexus 9, I've had lots of performance issues on mine, so I don't know what the deal is there. So yeah, I can't wait for everyone to get Lollipop on their devices.
I think that's the hard thing for me is say, it's hard to judge a device to the Nexus 6 or the Moto X with Lollipop because a lot of these phones, like the Galaxy Note 4, Galaxy S5, and LG G3, sure, they'll get Lollipop. I think that experience is just going to be a lot different than the stock Android version just because of the OEM skin and all that, and it'll be really interesting to see, especially Samsung for me, because we've already seen kind of what LG is getting at because of a few leaks that we've seen with videos. So Samsung to me is the big one. What are they going to do with Lollipop? Lollipop is absolutely gorgeous. Feels great in hand. I got it on the Nexus 7. I got it on the Nexus 9. And I'm just waiting to get it on the Moto X. But so far, it feels great. And I'm kind of worried that Samsung and LG may not kind of deliver. And, same thing with HTC. I don't know what they're going to do yet with Lollipop either. And I'm curious to see how these skins look with Lollipop. I mean, is it going to suck? I think so, possibly, because I love Lollipop so much. I don't want to see it, hindered by, software performance. Because that was my problem with the Note 4, the S5. I mean, I always feel like my performance is getting dragged down by TouchWiz or Nature UX or whatever LG's calling their stuff, and that's frustrating.
Lollipop almost is. I'm not. This is probably a terrible thing to say. Lollipop is. It's almost like it's the new Android skin because it's so different. You put it on. I don't even know how to explain this, but like when you got Sense in the early days, like when we thought it was good back in the day, I remember we were like, oh, Sense, it's actually a good skin. It makes Android look better. Remember how terrible Android used to look? And like Sense tried to spice it up. TouchWiz has kind of always been terrible, but there were some skins that weren't bad. And it's like now we've got Lollipop. It's almost like it's a skin on top of stock Android because it looks so damn good. It's like its own. I don't know. It's awesome.
Yeah, everybody wanted that Sense black bar because we all
That's
had
right.
the white Froyo bar at the time.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. Those were the days. Remember, yeah, everyone was trying to create mods to just change the color from that ugly gray. I forgot about that. That was a long time ago. Yeah, I can't wait for everyone to get this especially the Moto X. And like you said, Tim, it's going to be different. Like with the Moto X, you get that sort of Google vision. With Samsung devices, you're not going to get that much of a change, I don't think, except, like in the dialer. It looks like Samsung's reskinned all of their apps, but
yeah, but who uses those anyway?
Yeah,
I mean,
no one.
No one's going to open up the Samsung stock Messenger. What is that?
God, I hope not. I think HTC will do a good job. I think it won't look like Lollipop, but I think they'll use good colors, and I think it'll be really smooth. LG, I don't know, because almost everyone that owns a G3 at this point basically says it's slowed down and is super laggy. So I just don't even know that I trust LG.
My G3 is not laggy.
Which one do you have? Which carrier?
The Verizon variant.
And it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Are you on stock software though?
Yeah, I mean I have some tweaks, but it's still the stock ROM.
He's got tweaks. He doesn't count.
And those are literally just UI tweaks. I didn't mess with like a kernel or any of that stuff.
Like you changed the kernel, right? Like you're overclocking.
No.
Your phone runs a little warm, but it's super fast.
Yeah, I got that bugless beast running on it.
Shout out to Peter Alfonso.
Shout out to Peter, yeah. What up, Pete? So I don't know. Lollipop it's like you said, Tim. It's not gonna be the same on those other devices. Hopefully it'll help speed them up if they are having issues, but you're just not gonna get Google's vision. It's gonna be the TouchWiz vision of Lollipop, which I'm not looking forward to.
It's a shame that they just don't do them as themes, like something that you could literally just switch off, like switch system from Google, AOSAP to the TouchWiz colors and stuff, and that way it didn't really mess with the layouts too much. Just with some different aesthetic, maybe a color scheme or something that would differentiate. So if I looked at a screenshot, I'd be like, oh, your status bar has that, cool blue look. You're using AOSP, or oh, it's white, so you've got the TouchWiz variant. Just something that would be like distinctive enough, but still, if you pulled down the status bar, it would look the same no matter what Lollipop device you were looking at.
It would probably help with the speed of updates too. They wouldn't have to rip the entire system and skin the thing and then bake it back in.
That's the big thing. Like I think a lot of Samsung enthusiasts, I think they like the idea of keeping, like if they like TouchWiz or whatever, because they, like it does add functionality. Like that's a real thing. Like it absolutely adds functionality and brings some things more forward than they would be otherwise. But it's at the expense of simplicity. And like a lot of times it adds clutter, and a lot of times the design of it is, I think, less appealing than stock Android.
It adds a lot of clutter, Ron. I don't know the last time you picked up like a new Samsung device that has a gazillion different settings for every single app in it.
When you do the two-finger swipe, it's...
Yeah, I mean, it feels comprehensive, but at the same time, you feel like you're lost in this maze of settings.
Yeah, exactly. Which again, like for some people do like having their phones like tweaked out with, every single setting possible, like immediately accessible, even though you probably don't need them that way. Like some people do like that, which is fine, but yeah, I mean, if you lessen that, like that's the only reason my Motorola is able to get updates out as fast as they can is because they don't add that much, on top. And the things that they do add are separate software pieces, not like we're going to redesign everything, Yeah, so just, I mean, you would think that would work in their favor and make them go, oh yeah, we can keep doing our software on the side and keep improving just our phones so that people want to buy our phones, but give ourselves less work by not redesigning everything.
They think it differentiates them.
They do, and Verizon does.
Yeah. Samsung definitely does, because they keep creating new products that only work with their phones, which is frustrating.
Well, hey, if you wanna work your ecosystem and say, hey, you should only buy Samsung stuff, that idea does not bother me. Motorola does the same thing, really, when you think about it. It's just everybody else steals Motorola's ideas. Which, by the way, great sign that you're doing good work if other people are stealing your stuff. Not a lot of people are stealing Samsung stuff. So, but I think the idea of saying, hey, let's have stuff that makes our products look better over other things. That's fine. Like, innovate in that way. But to say, hey, we're going to completely redesign the phone so that it looks completely different and changes the way Android works. Like, it's still Android, but like, it's different. Like, like a lot of the Samsung stuff, like it's not the same thing, but it's I would say it's closer to like the Kindle reskin than I'm comfortable with.
I just wish they would give us an option to turn it all off. I'm with Dave on that. I wish the first boot they would go, do you want TouchWiz or do you want stock Android? And
what type of experience? Yeah, what type of experience do you want? Stock Android or TouchWiz? But if they were able to still add in like multi-window or whatever on some of those devices, that would be great.
Well, they could theoretically do it. I mean, we have Google Play Services, which is adds a lot to your device that can be updated separately, so they could do the same thing with their overlays. They could have a package that goes into it, and literally you switch it off, and then all of their features just drop out. If they did it right, it would be beautiful.
Right. Yeah, there's the ability to do that. It's just I doubt they ever will.
I don't even care if they ask me to go to their website and punch in my IMEI to get a special code that then unlocks TouchWiz to bring stuff. Like the whole bootloader situation, like you have to do. I would even do that just to get stock, and then I might consider a Samsung device again.
I do believe, the greatest Android phone ever made, the OnePlus One, does something kind of like that in regard to when you first boot. Ask if you want to do certain things, and what type of settings you want, or like the hardware buttons versus software, or the on-screen versus hardware.
Or even something like Moto Maker when you're making your phone. It's like you can sign in with your account, you can pick your wallpaper and all that. Add that on with skin stuff.
No, yeah, absolutely. I think it was funny when we were first talking about Moto Maker, but I think before it was official, people were talking about how maybe you could choose what CPU you want, how much RAM you want in your phone. That was so silly. Like looking back on it now, like how stupid could we have been thinking that was even a possibility? But companies aren't gonna. I feel like companies don't want to give you too many options. They do want you to use those services. Why else would they invest so much money into them?
Right.
So. And Samsung especially. I mean, you think that, features like that and paying the engineers and all those guys to create that stuff is cheap? Oh, heck no.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense that Samsung, they make everything, right? They make everything on the planet. It makes sense that they would want you to just use all of their products. I think what drives me a little nuts is, not that I necessarily want one of their smartwatches, but I can't use any of them because I don't use a Samsung phone. Like that new Gear S, whatever it's called, you could actually put a SIM in it and make calls or whatever. Yeah, I thought about what if we should test that, but I don't really want to use a Samsung device on a daily basis, so I can't even test that thing. I know that sounds terrible. It's my job to test things, but come on.
Don't make me do it.
That means I would have to get out a Samsung phone, set it all up, just so that I could use the Gear S, which I'm probably going to hate anyway because it runs Tizen.
Exactly. We should be able to pick and choose a little bit about what we want to review, I think.
Yeah.
And plus, it does not run Android, so
it doesn't.
End of discussion.
Okay, yeah, moving on from that. All right, so anyways, Nexus 6, I'll just wrap that up real quick. Nexus 6, review's out if you want to read it. Basically, I'm a big fan of the phone. It's a huge phone, but it's awesome if you can get a hold of one or go into a store, because I think most stores will probably have them on display at least. Play with it for a little bit. If you don't want that because it's huge, you kind of might want to look at the Moto X because it's the smaller version already. Well, if you buy the Pure Edition, it's already running Lollipop. AT&T pre-order is open now. Again, shipping around the 18th, we believe. T-Mobile's in-store launch is now the 19th. Sprint opens direct fill tomorrow, or you can call and order or whatever. Let's see. Motorola had a restock yesterday, sold out within about 30 minutes, I think. And that's kind of your only options. Google Play keeps restocking every Wednesday, but they're in stock for all of 10 seconds maybe. I haven't even seen them in stock there in 2 weeks. Lollipop, which we were just talking about, is already available now for the Moto X Pure Edition and the new Moto G 2nd Gen, which is kind of crazy. So they're first. LG put out an announcement that said they were first because they were going to push out Lollipop to the G3 in Poland, of all places. But Motorola still beat them. It's kind of funny, actually. LG was like, we're the first global manufacturer to push out Lollipop. And like 4 days before, Motorola had started a soak test for it, which isn't technically official. And then, yeah, like the day after LG announces that, the Moto X and Moto G actually do get it. So LG's not first, even though they have a giant press release. I just thought that was funny.
LG loves being first with everything, even if it's not completely good or baked in the oven.
They try to scoop everyone with little press releases, and then half the time you just go, whatever, LG.
Get out of here. Go home, LG. You're drunk.
Yeah, yeah. And we don't know when the G3 is getting it anywhere else outside of Poland. They were just like, we sold 100 of these in Poland. Let's start there. It's like their soak test.
They did say G3 owners will have it by the end of the year. So there's a guesstimation of when you'll have it, which isn't that far along. I mean, we're mid-November already.
We are.
So, and I was saying today, NVIDIA confirmed, I see it's not on our list, but NVIDIA did confirm that it's coming to the Shield tablet on November 18th, which is only a few days away.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, wow, it really warms my heart to see manufacturers possibly listening to consumers and getting that update out as quick as possible. I think running the latest version of Android is very important to a lot of Android users, regardless of what manufacturer or phone they have. So I think it's fantastic. The high adoption rate we've seen, of Lollipop so far, I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome to see how fast some of these companies are. Well, it looks fast, right? They've had a developer preview for months.
I will say, oh, sorry, but
no, go ahead. I'm done.
I was, I don't like the race aspect. Like I follow a certain someone who happens to work HTC PR on Twitter, and the guy he gets a little upset when he sees like other companies pushing out Lollipop before his, and I don't see it as a race. To me, I think as long as everyone has their update in a timely manner, whether it's before 90 days or what have you, everyone should be happy. It's a win-win, I think, for consumers and the companies, just to get it out as quick as possible. To me, it's not a race. I just want consumers to have the best experience possible. That's not wanting a bad thing.
It doesn't look great, though, when Motorola's pushing these updates out before Google is, and LG, who's like the worst on the planet at updating anything, is pushing stuff out in Poland, and HTC's like 90 days, guys. Like they're like, that's awesome, and that's not that awesome when you look at it now. I mean, LG said by the end of the year. That's less than 90 days. Well, who knows what Samsung's doing? Motorola will be done. And HTC is still working on 9. I mean, at this point, it doesn't look great for HTC, even though it did initially.
But
within 90 days is not bad. I mean, they say within 90 days. It doesn't say on the 90th day you will have Lollipop. Yes, you will have it, but it could come before then, and I think that's good. And with Sense, they do add quite a bit of stuff with Sense. So it does take time to develop all that stuff, but at the same time, 90 days is not that bad considering the history we've gone through with these carriers and updates.
What it used to be. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. We never even got time frames. There was no transparency whatsoever on social media.
Who knows you're going to get an update?
Exactly. Now all these companies are taking to social media. They're being interactive or proactive with their consumers and saying, "Hey, here's when you're going to get your goods. Chill." And I think that's really important. That's a good step. It's a step in the right direction. They've all created pages where you can see the update timelines, like, hey, we're in development. Hey, we're testing it. We need carrier approval. And the carriers are another big part of this issue. That's what he was saying. Like,
they are the issue.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, sure, a soak test is going out, but who knows if they have U.S. carrier approval. That's nearly impossible to do. Like, dude.
Yeah, but like when the developer and unlocked edition of the One M8 gets it, they're gonna go, it's out there, like it's this big deal. And the same thing, it didn't need approval.
Exactly.
I'm just saying, they're all. It's a fight. It is now because it's been such a pain point for so many years that all these manufacturers, they are now fighting, which is good for us. It's good for consumers that they're finally taking it serious. And they're trying to push these out as fast as they can. I just want to know, instead of making the submarine camera thingy shouldn't HTC have been downloading the like preview code and working on this thing?
No, first.
They had to do a terrible little camera. It's not terrible. I don't know that. They had to do a little gimmicky camera thing first.
That's unconfirmed.
That is unconfirmed.
The camera, I think that arrives tomorrow. I do believe you can purchase one. I think they ship out or whatever. Wouldn't know. Yeah, I know. Neither would I. We didn't even get a press release, I don't think.
No,
so.
Wouldn't know.
Dave would know. He was at the event.
Yeah, he was. Dave, did you get a press release about the camera going out tomorrow?
No, I did not.
Shocking.
Thanks,
Shocking.
HTC.
They'll let you know within 90 days. Don't worry.
Yeah. Thanks, HTC. We'll be glad to review that someday. All right, so yeah, the updates are coming out to non-Nexus devices. But speaking of Nexus devices, we have factory images out for Nexus 5, both Nexus 7 Wi-Fi models, so the 2012 and 2013 Wi-Fi models, and the Nexus 10. There's also a new image out for the Nexus 9 because it already received its first OTA update. Then OTA updates, we have files, I think, for Nexus 5, both Nexus 7s now, and the Nexus 10. So if you want to update and you don't want to wait for that thing to hit your Nexus, you can do that. You can either do it manually or whatever you want. So yeah, get on that. And the Nexus 4 is coming, we believe, this afternoon probably. So Google wasn't as fast as Motorola, but they're pushing updates now finally. And I updated my wife's Nexus 5. Went fine. So go the OTA or go the manual OTA update route. It's really easy. Takes all of a couple of ADB commands. And speaking of ADB, I got Tim back on ADB. We were talking about this. You guys, I don't know the last time Ron, you or Dave used ADB. But Tim and I sometimes, well, for a while we kind of avoided it because back in the Windows, when we were both on Windows, and it was like the OG Droid and like all these things, ADB was like the worst thing ever.
It was terrible.
Yeah, I mean, you had to like find some. I remember when Koch was creating like the ultimate driver for ADB because you had to find a new driver for like everything. Nothing ever worked. It was like the worst experience ever. And we've since switched to Macs for the last few years, and it's just even easier than ever. But
it was very convoluted back on the PC. But now with Mac, I down because yeah, you needed drivers, but now you just download the SDK, punch in a couple commands there on the old keyboard. And you're up and running. I was like, whoa, killing. What is this magic?
I wanted to switch to a Hackintosh full time was because I didn't want to deal with ADB.
Mm.
All those
Pretty
issues
much.
Ever, so.
Yeah, the only thing different is typing /. That's it. It's so much easier. So anyways, yes, if you haven't given ADB a look in a while, feel free to give it a second try. It's everything's much easier now. At least it seems like. Which is good.
And it makes you feel smart, too.
Yes, it does.
Oh, my God. I'm a hacker.
I can code.
I can code.
Well, I had to. So I put the initial Lollipop for the Moto X Pure Edition over the weekend on my phone, and apparently that wasn't final. There was another update they issued, and so I had to, like, flash. There's apparently, like, Moto X factory images basically now, too. And so I had to flash back to 4.4.4. I really felt like it was the old days where you flash back and then update. It was awesome. I felt like it was 2009 all over again. All right, so yeah, that's kind of all the Lollipop news. Moto X, Moto G, G3 coming soon. As Tim mentioned, the 90 days for HTC doesn't necessarily mean in 90 days. You'll see it. We could see HTC updates any day now, actually. And then Nexus devices are all rolling out, and a Googler just announced this afternoon that the Nexus 4 update is coming soon. So we'll have a link as soon as we can. I would imagine the factory image for the Nexus 4 will be out as well. So if you have a Nexus 4 and you have been feeling left out, you are about to join the fun. So let's see. Tim posted his Galaxy Note 4 review this week. Tim, you want to talk Galaxy Note 4?
Yeah, sure. I spent quite a bit of time with that device. Had it for a couple of weeks and then finally got the review up. But, you know, we had so much else going on. But yeah, the device is good. I will say I do believe it to be quite possibly the best Note device that they've made in the series from the Note 2, Note 3. I never tried the original Note, so I can't compare to that. But 5.7-inch QHD display, Super AMOLED, absolutely gorgeous. I know Kellen can also testify to that because he also has one in-house. And the faux leather they have on the back now feels a lot more kind of realistic than the faux leather they had on the Note 3. So the Note 4 definitely gets my vote there as well. 60-megapixel shooter is absolutely stunning. Not only does it take massive billboard shots, but highly detailed, great color, absolutely fantastic. The screen has a good amount of saturation. So, home button still there for people who want home buttons. There you go. And the chamfered edges. My overall take from the phone was like good display, good performance, has the Snapdragon 805 with 3 gigs of RAM. But also the design. Samsung's design, it's much like the Galaxy Alpha. It has these chamfered edges along, the whole exterior and sides of the device, and it's pretty sexy. It's big, but it's manageable. You will need 2 hands, but at the same time, saying compared to the Nexus 6, you may not always need to use 2 hands, which could be important, but it feels pretty good. It feels kind of cold, and it feels really premium. So, and of course, the stylus is there. You got S Pen, all that new stuff. TouchWiz running on top of Android 4.4.4. Lollipop, I'm sure, is inbound. They're not going to, leave it hanging for too long. But so, from what I take away is that it's a good phone, a little hindered by TouchWiz, as with any other Samsung device. I feel like it's a little bit slower. Whether that's Knox or encryption stuff, I don't know. Samsung's been upping their security game too, but it's a good phone. It just has a really gorgeous display and fantastic camera. Those were my 2 huge points. I was like, OMG, the camera's fantastic, and the display, the Super AMOLED, just looks great. So there you have it.
I haven't played much with the Note 4, but the few times I have, it feels really nice. Like last year's Note, the Note 2 I wasn't a huge fan of. This thing feels really premium. I mean, Samsung did a hell of a job with this phone, actually.
Yeah, I had a couple of people ask me why I didn't talk more about some of the features like the fingerprint scanner and the heart rate monitor, and my only reply was like, oh, I had no idea I was even supposed to use those things. Because, being that it is in the home button, you still have to swipe your thumb across it. Sorry. It's not intuitive enough for me. The way Apple does it is fine. You just place your thumb on it and it totally works, but I'm not going to swipe my thumb across it.
It doesn't work half the time anyway. So.
Exactly. It's worthless. So whether it's good or bad, I just decided to omit it from the review completely. And then the heart rate monitor I found from the Galaxy S5. Maybe it got better on the Note 4, but I don't do a lot of running, so I don't really check my heart rate all too much. And if I did, I just had my Moto 360 on me the whole time, and I can check my heart rate just fine. So I'm sorry if I didn't get to the heart rate monitor, but no apologies. I have no regrets.
In your defense, I'm sure they're the same terrible ones that are in the Galaxy S5. I mean,
Exactly.
Do we know where they updated it all? Because they were bad in the Galaxy S5, so I can't imagine they're any better.
Yeah, whether that was a software issue that they fixed or something, I don't know. I can go back and add it, but the heart rate monitor is just not something I personally use. We try and review devices, I think, the way we use them. And for me, the way I use a device is I play a lot of games, I shoot a lot of pictures, and I browse the web and watch YouTube videos. So kind of based on the way I use a device, and I think the way a lot of other people would just use like a basic smartphone with a really good camera, then that's what I'm going to go to. This thing being how large it is, it's not geared towards a jogger who's going to go take it out and then test their heart rate on it. So I just review the device the way I use phones.
And that's the thing when you're writing a review. Like when you look at any of the reviews we do, they're gigantic. Like with the amount of stuff that we're trying to cover, and sometimes with tight deadlines, and so you can't cover absolutely everything. If you look at anybody's review, they don't cover everything. It's just impossible.
It is impossible. If you tried to cover every single thing about a phone in a review, it would be 30 pages long.
Yeah.
Some of our reviews are really long.
Going, who cares about that? I don't care about that. Why are you writing about that? There are plenty of details about a phone that you can write about, but it's a matter of figuring out, okay, what's the most important thing that people are going to care about knowing about.
Yeah, we try to focus on the big things. So Note 4, I'm actually tempted to, I have a Verizon Note 4 laying here. I'm tempted to activate it for just a couple of weeks.
Nah, dude, don't bother.
It just feels so good though, that metal, and I kind of want to. I think I've talked about this before. I always want to play with the S Pen, but I never know what to do with it. I'm always like, this is so cool, and then I like pull it out and I draw like a dog, and I'm like, what else do I use this thing for?
You send dogs to Tim all day.
Just send pictures of puppies to Tim all day.
I would just practice my signature over and over again. I was like, now would be a good time to change my signature because I just have time to practice, delete, practice, delete.
There you go.
And
a little bit more fancy.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was going for. And I got it pretty good, I think. But regardless, the S Pen actually feels pretty good. And when I was doing the review, I was like, okay, I need to touch on the S Pen qualities of the device because it is a big selling point. Mm-hmm. And I noticed that, you know, the lassoing an image and sharing that, you know, it actually works really good. And the one thing I did not try, sorry if that was loud, the one thing I did not do is you can have 16 windows running simultaneously on the Note 4, like 16 different windows of apps, and to me, that's just unrealistic. I don't know who would need that many windows running at the same time, but if you need it, it's there, 16 windows simultaneously, so that's good.
I just want to like circle things and send them to people, and there was some other functionality you went over in your review. It just makes some of that stuff make sense. Like I think the Galaxy Note is Samsung's best phone. They've added meaningful functionality with the S Pen, and it's gotten more premium, and it has a big battery, and it still has the big display if you want to go that route. Like if I was buying a Samsung phone, I'd probably go the Note. I know that sounds weird. I hate big phones, and I've talked about how much I hate big phones. But if I was going Samsung at this point, I'd probably go Note 4.
I think if the Galaxy Alpha had a bit more power and wasn't kind of really laggy with TouchWiz, and I would definitely go Alpha. I mean, I really like that size, and it has some really good specs too. But I think the Galaxy S6, which I think will kind of feature this kind of flat and the chamfered edges, that'll be the phone to beat. Galaxy S6, my money's on it. So, and I really hope they ditch that waterproof stuff. You know, you don't need to have a flap on the bottom to make something waterproof. It was just really, it wasn't very attractive. Like the Galaxy S5 was a huge step backwards. So I'm hoping the V1 will be much better.
Is the Note 4 waterproof at all?
Nope.
Okay. Because it doesn't have that flap. You need the flap.
You need the flap, but then again, if you really need something that's waterproof, just go get the Active, and then you're fine.
That's true. I mean, like all the Sony phones have like 4 flaps. They flap everything.
Yeah, like that's not attractive. That's not intuitive. Can't you like invent a better way to waterproof something?
Trying to charge a Sony phone is one of the most impossible things ever. Because they put the charge, like the port is like up here on the corner, and so you have to like open the flap, try to plug it in up here instead of at the bottom. It's kind of a mess.
Super easy, just pull up the flap.
It's so annoying.
What was that?
Yeah, that's the next phone we're going to talk about. So Ron's got Sony Xperia Z3 V, gotcha, which is like the C3 Z2 zombie device that Verizon's selling. And that phone has wireless charging though, but doesn't it? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So you don't even have to use the flap. You don't want to.
You don't want to. You can be flap free. It's great.
Yeah. So Ron reviewed that. Well, Tim, were you done with the Note 4? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Note 4.
Nope, absolutely. I'm done. It's a good step. You know, a lot of people are saying, I don't know if it's worth the upgrade from the Note 3, but you know, it's actually pretty good. If you want that super AMOLED QHD display, if you want to see something that blows your mind, check out the display on the Note 4. It's legit. Yeah. And the camera, it's amazing. The Note 3 camera is also quite good, but Note 4 is probably one of the best on the markets. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right, so yeah, Ron has the Sony Xperia Z3 V and review out this week as well. So we've reviewed all sorts of devices this week. It's been a busy week. Ron, let's hear the thoughts on the Z3 V.
Yeah, it's like I said in my review, and like you just alluded to, it's kind of a weird phone because it's not quite a Z3, not quite a Z2. So they've kept a lot of things from the Z2 and brought over some things from the Z3. But I overall I like it. It's a big phone, so I mean compared to my iPhone in particular, it's gigantic. But even compared to like the Moto X, last year's Moto X looks tiny compared to it.
Yeah, it does.
And feels tiny and light compared to it too. Like when I picked that back up, I was like, oh, whoa, this is a tiny baby phone. So yeah, it's I'd say the big things with it. I mean, the display looks great. Camera's actually pretty good. It's got probably the biggest size sensor you can get in a smartphone camera. so it does pretty good with low light shots. It has some weird quirks to it. So like you're supposed to be able to tap to wake. That usually works. Sometimes it doesn't. And Sony software is still Sony software. We were kind of talking about like themes earlier. Sony has like a bunch of themes you can switch around. Most of them like make it worse. Like there's like Candy Crush themes, and it's not like it's just like, oh, now your notification bar is pink. It's like that, and all like the home, back, and multitasking buttons have been changed to different candies, and I don't know who wants that. Like that's very confusing to me. So, but it's it's a good phone. It's like I said, it's on the bigger side, and because it's glass in the front and the back, that makes me a little bit more nervous. Like if I was walking through the street a lot, like if I lived in New York, I'd be a little bit more nervous about like texting while I'm walking around or something. Just because if you drop it, it's almost certainly going to shatter. But it's pretty good. So I mean, if you're and the one thing that I talked about this in the review, the one thing that I do like, since they kept some of the stuff from the Z2, like I said, they kept basically the design chassis is basically the same as the Z2, and so the speakers are hidden along the edges, and I really like that look. Instead of the speakers breaking up the glass, I think this looks a lot better. And they made the front white on the Z2, the original. The front was still black, so it's white on both sides, which I think looks a lot better. So if you're a Sony fan and you're on Verizon, you're probably never going to see a Z3. This also explains why we had all the Z2 rumors for months and months and months, as it was a weird Frankenstein device. But I mean, if you're a Sony fan and you're on Verizon, I would definitely consider it. It's a good all-around phone. Like any phone, it's got some issues, but it's good.
And you actually like the display, right? Because in previous Sony phones, up until I think this year, they've almost all been terrible. But this one's good, right?
They have good like color accuracy and things like that, but the viewing angles were usually horrendous. And with this one, you get slight darkening like you would on most displays as you're turning it, but that's about it. So it's actually a really good display. Colors were accurate. So yeah, it's good.
And so I had the Z3 Compact, and my biggest complaint I think was how slow the camera was. How's the camera on that in terms of speed? Like opening it, focus, shooting, everything.
Yeah, so I when I was working on my review, I read through your compact review again, so I noted that you had the issues with the camera. Mm-hmm. Camera's super fast on this. Okay. So holding down the camera button, it launches within a second, fires off a shot within a second. So it's super fast, focuses fast, and with the dedicated camera button was one of my favorite things about it too, because you can push it down just a little bit to refocus like you would on a normal camera. Mm-hmm. And it'll refocus on if you're using the stock app, it'll refocus on whatever point you've tapped on. If you're using the Google camera app, it just refocuses in the center. But being able to do that, if somebody moves around or something, or if you're taking like a wildlife shot and there's a little bit of wind or something, you need to refocus again, being able to just push down on that was great. So I kind of wish all phones came with that camera button. But yeah, it's a fast shooter, and it does pretty well. I mean, it's got its issues. So reds aren't always super accurate, which is a normal. Like even big DSLRs have issues with reds. Whites can be a little overblown, so you usually got to turn down contrast a little bit and do some editing. But it's a pretty good camera.
What about battery life? Because before the Z3 was coming out, everyone was claiming it was the battery champion and all this stuff. What about the Verizon version?
So it'll depend on your usage. So when I was using it, I was trying to use it like crazy. So I was streaming music and doing all sorts of things that I don't normally do because I usually have an iPhone, so I'm worried about my battery life. But like even when I was doing all that, it would get me through a day. If you're not like constantly streaming things, so if you're a normal human that like downloads stuff and all that, you should be able to at least get through part of a second day, I would think. So again, it'll depend on your usage, depending on what you're doing. Like with any phone, if you're in the camera constantly, that's going to drain battery a lot. Like there's certain things that are going to drain it a lot, but there's certainly potential to get through certainly a whole work day, if not a whole day, depending on your usage. So it should be lasting longer, I think, because of the battery size. But I think a big part of that is because the display is so huge. So it's definitely got to drain.
The story of that phone is just so weird because it was the Z2 was supposed to be on Verizon so long ago, and then the Z2 just came out.
They announced that at
9 months or something. I think.
Yeah,
because I think it was announced at CES, the regular Z2, and then we thought it was coming to Verizon. Yeah, there was pictures of it everywhere. I think there was even training at some Verizon stores for it, and then all of a sudden it just disappeared. And then yeah, the Z3 gets announced 6 months later, basically, and then Verizon was like, okay, well we had the Z2, so but I think they upgraded it, right? The Z2 they upgraded like the display to the Z3 display and new camera sensor, I think, and some other things.
Some of it. That's the weird thing.
But not really. Yeah.
Yeah, so like all the software improvements, those all came over. The camera is actually the older one, so it goes up to 6400 ISO. The Z3 goes up to 12800, which God knows why you'd want to do 12800 on a sensor this size, but it can do it, allegedly. So yeah, it's still most of the phone is still the Z2, but that's the thing is like there's so much crossover between the Z2 and Z3 anyway. Right. It has the same processor, it has the same amount of RAM. There's already a lot of crossover because it was such a close upgrade from when the Z2 came out. So yeah, there's lots of crossover between the two devices, but that's the thing though. Like in terms of performance and everything else like that, you're going to see very, very similar things. The only reason that you would like if you're on, well, obviously if you're on Verizon, you're stuck with the Z3 V. But like if you're, can move to whatever carrier or whatever. I don't know. There's a lot of reason to go to Z3V, the Z3, except for maybe battery life, because I think it's a little bit better on the Z3 from the reviews I saw. And the camera's supposed to be a little bit better, but again, the big difference that I was seeing was the higher ISOs, and with a sensor this size, you shouldn't be shooting anything higher than like 3200.
Yeah. Well, at least we have a Sony phone on Verizon, it's been a while. And it's been
since the Xperia Play. Yeah, it's been a long. And I was trying to remember. I don't think there's been a Sony phone before the Xperia Play that I can remember. They were all GSM, and most of them didn't even come over to the States.
Yeah, you're right.
So, like, if you've been a Sony fan and want to get this is the phone to jump on if you really like Sony stuff. Like, and it's got the PlayStation stuff, and it's got a bunch of stuff that like we were talking about earlier, trying to fit things into reviews. Like, there's plenty of stuff that you can't fit in. Right. So partway through my review, suddenly I got a notification saying, "Hey, the movie app has put together a movie of all the pictures that you've taken so far this month." I was like, "Oh, that's random." So I open it up, and it's just a little video with music behind it showing all the pictures and videos I've taken. I was like, "Huh, I don't know if I would use that, but like if I went on a trip and it just automatically made a video for me, that's actually kind of cool." So like there are certain parts of Sony software, there's plenty of it that drives me bonkers, but there's other things where I'm like, "Oh, that's actually kind of useful."
Yeah. Well, good. Good job, Sony. Sounds like you actually like the phone for the most part.
Good job, Ron. Thank you for your in-depth analysis.
I feel like we have like 10 more phones we need to review now. There's so many phones out there right now. It's kind of crazy.
Nope.
The nice thing is, Tim's like, I'm done. Done reviewing for the rest of the year. The good thing is for consumers, you have so many, and most phones these days are all pretty damn good. There's still not like a perfect phone in my opinion, but I mean you got a lot of options finally.
You got some pretty close to perfect things, like phones with just a few minor things. If the Moto X had a better camera and maybe a better battery, then I'd say it'd probably be the perfect phone.
And if you want to wait 4 months, we'll start getting phones again in the spring, so we can start the whole process over.
Seriously.
That's what's great about Android, dude. There's always something on the horizon. I mean, you saw the report. We're already talking about Galaxy Note 5 and a UHD Super AMOLED display. Give me a break.
So silly.
So it never ends. The hype beast never sleeps.
Yeah, that is the cool thing though. Is like no matter what carrier you're on, like there are lots and lots of options, and a lot of them are really, really good.
Yeah, I mean you could still buy the Galaxy S5 and you'd probably be fine. Like even though the phone came out last March or April, whenever that was, still a really good phone. So it's crazy how many good devices there are now. And yeah, like Dave said, in January when we're at CES, we'll start hearing rumors of all the next ones, people planning dates for launches and all that stuff. And then February we'll probably see the Galaxy S6, then you'll buy it in March. I mean, we're not that far away from probably the Galaxy S6, which means the 1M9 or whatever we're going to call it from HTC, that'll be there too.
No M9.
Straight to M10.
Okay.
M1000. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean we're like 3 months away, potentially from 4 months away from a new, so never stops. Let's see. Moving out of device reviews, so YouTube announced, and I have to apologize, I haven't read into this at all, so hopefully one of you guys will talk this up. YouTube's music key. I was in the middle. This came out yesterday. So Google, we got to do our Nexus 6 embargo lifted, and then like 10 things started spamming out, like new Google search, then YouTube, and then there was something else in there, and then factory images. And yesterday was a wild day. So, anyways, Google announced YouTube Music Key, which is basically like no ads in your YouTube music videos, and you can add full albums, and it kind of combines with Google Play All Access for one price, which sounds kind of awesome, but somebody else want to explain that more?
Why can't they just make it a YouTube ad-free key and just make it on all videos? Like, I don't want to see ads at all, whether it's on music or a regular video.
They would lose too much money.
Yeah, they would.
I don't think $10, well, $8 for a limited time would be enough to remove all ads for a user, you know, forever on YouTube. I think that's just, it's too much of a loss, I think. But I don't have specific numbers on that. I would like to tell you more about YouTube Music Key, but I can't. I don't know much about it. All I know is that it's a subscription, ad-free music video service that aligns somewhat with your Google Play All Access. You know, I don't even think Google did a very good job at announcing this, or YouTube. No. Like, if we don't, this is our job, and we don't even know what it is.
Right. It's beta, right? You can't sign up for it now.
Exactly. It's technically closed.
You have to get invited into it.
Exactly. Like every other Google service these days. Who do they think they are? Apple? With all their closed stuff.
But if you get the Music Key, it includes All Access, right? Or we're getting rid of All Access? Like, it's just going to become YouTube Music Key, but then you have it attaches to
I think they're still separate. Like, I think if you're an All Access subscriber, you just get Music Key when it goes live, I think.
So then why keep two? You know, like, hey, which one do you subscribe to? Because it doesn't matter. You get both services. So why have the assets for both? Just, I mean, and if they're going to keep one of them, I'd rather have YouTube Music Key because it just sounds a little better than Google Play All Access.
It's the same reason that Google just introduced a brand new SMS app, even though Hangouts is supposed to be everything, and that we have Inbox and Gmail and an email app. You know what I mean?
Does the new messaging app rely on the Google Play services, though, which Hangouts would? I mean, I guess it doesn't make sense.
I don't know. It's a really cool app, but like Google just tried to get everyone to convert everything to Hangouts, and then they're like, check out this really awesome SMS app.
Yeah, the messaging app seems pretty pointless. I mean, to me, like I have text come in, but all of my texts are now merged with Google Voice, so the SMSs don't even go to the messaging app.
All it's telling us is that there's a lot of people who are resisting the change to Hangouts.
That's probably part of it. Yeah.
All that it's essentially letting us know is that not everybody's on board with Hangouts, so they have to release this normal messaging app for people that don't want to do that.
Maybe it's just me, but I don't even like the new Hangouts. Like, I don't like how I can't slide through it and anything.
It's like 4 steps backwards from the previous user experience.
One step forward and 2 steps back, I do believe.
I was just thinking that as well.
I'm not even giving them the step forward.
Just 2 steps back. Okay.
Because, like, I use 2 different accounts in Hangouts, and switching in between accounts takes way too long. Like, you have to... I don't even know. I mean, I need to pull it. Like, you have to swipe over.
Like, back out of the conversation you're in.
Yes, that's it. You have to back out of the conversation, then swipe out.
Swipe from the edge,
then
and then
switch. Yeah, it's such a frustrating. Like, you should always be able to swipe to just access accounts. I shouldn't have to go back to the conversation screen. It is a terrible design. I would agree.
It seems that it's just because they wanted to get rid of the drawer in the app. So because you're swiping between the 2 tabs. And I don't understand why, because if you look at, like, the Play Store, you have tabs, but you also have the drawer. So
right, and you usually can always access the drawer. But I don't even know why we have the other tab. Like, the other tab is useless. I never go to that other tab.
They're not opposed to that pattern of having tabs and a nav drawer, so why they actually didn't implement that in Hangouts is probably anybody's guess. Hopefully we're just in the middle of some big transition. You know, they've been rolling out all of the extra Google Voice support.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's going to be like one big, like, here it is, here's the new beautiful app that you've been waiting for.
How many times have they redone Hangouts in its short life? I feel like it just keeps changing and changing. Now there's like a dialer built in. Does anyone use Google Hangouts dialer, by the way? Has anyone ever used it?
Well, I did try it once or twice, but then I found that when I was using it, it wasn't syncing properly with my Google account, so I wasn't getting the numbers that I already had in my in my cloud or in my storage. So I was like, this is totally pointless. I don't know anyone's number. The only person's number I know is mine and my mom's. That's
Right.
just because she's had it for 20 years. So other than that, I don't know your number or anyone. I rely on my phone, and if Dialer's not going to give that to me,
Well,
then I can't use it.
I think they're trying to make it that you can communicate. They want to make the idea of a dialer not dependent on phone numbers. Because
Probably.
we talk to so many people digitally now. Like maybe I don't have Ron's phone number, but I want to call and speak to Ron for whatever reason. So if I'm using Hangouts, then I can essentially use my phone as a phone and contact Ron without actually having to know his phone number. But I do think right now it's just a mix, and they don't have it right.
And is it seriously just me, or does the Hangout icon not even have like a material flat look yet? Only the Dialer part of it has the flat
dialer,
material
That's
look.
because they haven't pushed that out. That's why I think we're still in the middle. It was like we're going to put in some material stuff to get you ready, and then we're going to roll out with the
We're gonna warm you up to this terrible design, and then push you just full on into
for all we know that it wasn't possible to do maybe like full dialer integration with old Android. Maybe with 5.0 there's new hooks that we're not aware of yet, and they'll be able to make Hangout calls route through the normal dialer, and like the dialer will be smart enough to know whether you're doing a traditional phone call or if it's going to be a digital through data using like a Hangouts type connection system.
There's probably a new
I think
API
there's
or
something that we don't know yet that they're planning. It's like a big move, and we're just seeing the inkling, like the beginning of it.
It could very well be. All I know is they just redid this app not that long ago, right? Hangouts, and it's terrible looking, and they need to redo it now and give us material design. I forgot that this was like the last one that needs material design still. Isn't it basically the last one? The last big one?
I mean,
good question.
Technically, this kind of has it, like parts of it. It's just not very intuitive the way I can't slide out of a conversation anymore. So
This is when Google needs to, at least the way it's set up now, this is when Google needs to steal the backward swipe gesture from Apple. It would be perfect in this new setup.
Yeah, but only a few apps even take advantage of that I found. Like Instagram was a good one for it, but I didn't really find any other usage.
Speaking of Instagram, in the new update, Android finally got pulled to refresh after all this time.
Congratulations, Instagram.
It finally did?
Bring on
finally got it.
hyperlapse.
Finally got pulled to refresh.
Oh my gosh.
So all right, so we skipped right over this YouTube music key thing, kind of.
That's because
So
none of
YouTube
us
Music
really
Key-
know what's going on with it.
I know
You're
that
paying
is-
money.
Nobody
you don't
knows
get
and nobody cares.
advertisements, and you get access to curated playlists. I think is all that I've seen.
People
There's
still
basically
watch
like a new
videos?
music section or something in YouTube, and you
There
can
is,
add
yeah.
full album playlists and things like that. And apparently, it's going to slowly integrate with Google Play Music All Access videos and all that stuff together as one.
So is this supposed to be like MTV 2.0?
Probably.
Like I need a channel with just music videos?
MTV2 was MTV 2.0. This would be like 3.0 or 4.0.
The rebirth? How about we don't even give it a number?
Yeah.
The next generation. Next
All you
gen.
need to know is that if you want to listen to Taylor Swift, you have to buy her album on iTunes. That's all you need to know.
Yes.
I don't want to. You can't make me. You can't make me do
You're gonna
it.
give it to him. Buy it.
Yeah, I still haven't listened to Tay Tay.
I'd rather download.
I looked for it on
song.
Spotify and couldn't find it, so I didn't.
Maybe I can find it on ShareBear, and then I can get it.
Share Bear. Haven't heard of Share Bear in a long time.
ShareBear and Kazaa and LimeWire, the quickest way to get a
Kazaa
virus on
and
your
LimeWire.
PC.
Yeah. I downloaded music. Why is this music in .exe file?
I was a young kid, man. I totally ruined my dad's computer back in the day. Brand new Dell, just destroyed.
Dude, you got a Dell.
That was when that commercial was huge.
Yeah.
Why is this album an exe file? Double click. Yeah.
Yeah, you can change my homepage. That's fine.
Explosion. Yeah. Wow, those were good days.
Those
The
are
Wild
bad
West.
days.
Wild
Those were
West would be legal
struggling.
activity.
Yeah, struggling to download music on a DSL line.
When Napster was trying to be legit. Bad time.
All right. In other news, HTC went from Robert Downey Jr. to Robinson Cano, baseball player who is now the brand ambassador. I don't know why they would do that, but we don't really know what HTC does anymore.
You know, maybe they won't even use him for phones. Maybe they're gonna line him up with the Re camera or something like that. You know, that could be cool.
That could be.
Guy probably lives a really exciting life. I mean, I don't really like the whole celebrity endorsement of smartphones. To me, doesn't make any sense anymore.
No.
Like, what do I care what phone?
Every single one of them is back using an iPhone after like 3 days. So
Right.
So yeah, somebody go check Robinson Cano's Twitter. I bet he's tweeting from an iPhone.
That was the first thing I did, and he has no kind of affiliates. It doesn't even say from Twitter web client or anything like that. They're all blank. So his team must be really good at.
Either that or maybe Twitter's starting to mask that stuff for people that are like
endorsed,
or
verified, or something.
Like they have a little like click sorry. That way, no one can know what you're tweeting from.
Exactly. No, that's really smart because too many people have been screwed over. Alicia Keys, Jennifer Lopez, I think possibly. Just too many people are getting scammed by that.
Is Viva Mobile still a thing?
Yes,
technically.
I think they did.
J-Lo, I'll ask her.
Yeah, let me call my girl J-Lo, Jenny from the block.
They closed like the flagship store in New York already, but I think there's still a website. I believe there's still a website.
We can.
That's too much.
How do you access the website though if you are trying to go buy your first device that has internet?
Just change your computer's language to Spanish.
Okay, they might be completely dead. I just searched Viva Mobile, and the website doesn't even come up.
Yeah, so...
VivaMobile.com?
It was a good app first.
They only ever had
it's completely gone. Yeah, URL not found. It redirected me to getviva.com with just a giant URL not found. Wow, that was a quick death.
They didn't even announce anything, though. There's nothing...
They're on Twitter.
I'll remember. I was there for the announcement. It'll go down as one of my favorite memories of all time.
They still have a Twitter account. Last tweet, August 22nd. I mean, the Twitter account makes it look like they're still alive. But yeah, getviva.com. Click that and
that's gone. Yeah.
Yeah, Tim sitting at the Viva Mobile event that'll go down in Droid Life history, I think.
Just jaw open for Jennifer Lopez the whole time.
What did we think was coming?
In the stores. We thought it was. What was it?
What was the thing that we all thought there was a big announcement and everyone just went, what?
Was it the one?
I thought maybe it was the one.
I think it was the one.
The original one, because it didn't come to Verizon initially, and so we were waiting for it, and we all thought it was in Vegas.
Verizon said, "Hey, we're gonna have a big announcement. Everybody come out."
They got us. They rickrolled us.
They did. They really did.
Apparently, they only had 15 locations, and I drove by one not too long ago, like a year ago. Not too long ago. I'm gonna go see if it's still there.
Oh, that's right, because NYC, LA, and Miami was it. They no longer exist apparently. Getviva does not work.
Their tweets are painful. Like I get it, like it's a carrier store that is all about Jennifer Lopez, but like all their tweets just have to do with Jennifer Lopez. Like, oh, look at this Jennifer Lopez fan took advantage of our case deal. Like this is ridiculous. So
what a failure that thing was.
That was a big time failure.
It was.
Although
something else I was going to say. What?
It should be noted that the gentleman who went in on this, who invested his money in this, is now the CEO for Sprint.
Well, no, he wasn't an investor. He was. It was when he was whatever his other company was. He was basically like, we're going to distribute for them or something like that.
He partnered up to help create Viva Mobile.
Yeah, so Sprint's CEO was on stage with J-Lo at that event and was like, yes, this is awesome. Our first store is going to open in New York City. And yeah, now he's the CEO of Sprint.
He just got too busy.
So what I'm hearing is Sprint is going to go the way of Viva Mobile.
Probably.
They already have.
The guy. Well, yeah, which is funny because the guy is apparently a brilliant businessman. He's worth like billions, a couple billion, I think. He's basically the CEO of Sprint just because he's like, I don't have anything else to do. I might as well, kind of thing. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, so I don't know that we even want to dive into this, but the Obama FCC classify the internet as a utility thing. Does anyone want to talk about that? It just sounds like something that would take a whole show.
I don't think we should talk about it until we have a definitive on what's actually going to happen.
That's true, because the last I saw was Tom Wheeler was freaking out after what Obama
Politicians
said.
say one thing, the president says something, the FCC is like, no, we're going to do this. Well, we want to hear what you think, and then we're going to get something else entirely. So let's wait till we get the terrible decision that they come to, and then we can talk about it. If people can still access your show, because I don't know if you'll be in the paid lane, so it might not be something anybody's going to be able to see. But
We probably won't be able to afford the paid blade, so I don't think anybody will be able to watch by the time that's handed down.
Sorry, folks.
We're shutting down. We're going the way of Viva Mobile.
Probably. All right, so we'll skip that. You're right. We should wait until the FCC actually lays out its plan for net neutrality, and then.
It's nice to see that Obama's on board with it, but it doesn't make any difference.
Loving me some Obama right now.
Yeah, so at least Obama said this is how it should be, but like you said, it doesn't really matter what he said. I mean, he appointed Wheeler, didn't he?
Yes.
No, somebody told him to appoint Wheeler.
Well,
The lobbyists.
His administration appointed Wheeler.
Yeah, it's his,
so he's basically saying, like, Wheeler, you better listen to me, without actually saying that.
Well, but Wheeler doesn't have to. That's the thing.
No, he doesn't have to. Independently run is the FCC.
I am the law. He's like Judge Dredd over there, dude.
Like basically, like Obama gets to appoint him, but like if the FCC head wants to like get rid of everything, like kill like Verizon cellular access, he can.
He can
do it.
He just get rid of all the cellular, so then nobody can do their jobs. That's the FCC. The FCC just rules the world.
He's like a Roman emperor. Thumbs up, thumbs down on everything.
Yeah.
That's it.
Everybody
this is how Tom Wheeler does his job.
Okay. Wasn't he referencing like splitting the baby? Did you see that?
I don't know. What happened to a baby?
It's the story from the Bible where Solomon has two moms come in, both claiming they have that it's their kid. So Solomon says he's going to split the kid, and then the real mom says no.
And people say the Bible isn't violent.
So much
I don't know
violence.
who's saying that. Anybody that's saying that has not read it. Chapter 6, God's like, let's kill everybody. So
Bill O'Reilly told me.
I will say that when Obama released that statement in fun little video, the only people in the entire country that basically came out immediately and said no are the carriers. That's it. Like no one else, and Ted Cruz.
And yeah.
Like that's it.
It's Obamacare for the internet, guys. That's all you need to know about it. We don't need to talk about it. It's Obamacare for the internet. You'll be fine. You'll sign up for You'll sign up for internet through the government, and 8 to 9 months later, you might get some information about what kind of coverage you get.
I hope when they
open enrollment,
when they let people know that they're going to put through like a crap policy that all of the websites band together and are like, let's really destroy this. Like I want to see Google go black. Like legit, like, I'm sorry, you can't use Google until you call and voice a complaint, and then you can have access again.
Yeah, that'll be great. I'll love all the support calls I get, Dave. Thank you. Hey, my Google is black and it says it won't do anything.
Google is black.
But that's the same thing that happened to me after I opened that exe file off of ShareBear. It said I couldn't access this site unless I paid $5. So.
Here's the good news, though. When Obamacare comes to the internet, you're going to be able to keep your same great carrier. That's great news.
We just need Google Fiber. I mean, they really just need to start expanding.
Google Fiber will
that's
die.
actually not included in one of the plans, so unfortunately.
Did you see that AT&T actually announced that they're halting their fiber expansion because of what Obama just said or something like that?
Oh, gosh.
Like they had actually announced that, I think.
Your move,
they're stopping because of uncertainty under potential net neutrality. We have to slow down our fiber.
Even AT&T has no idea how the government works. That's great.
Yeah, no, they don't. So yeah, I mean, the only people that came out and said anything were AT&T, Verizon, Comcast, and they all screamed and said, "No, this is innovation's over." It should be fun to watch what Tom Wheeler has to do. Yeah, because the FCC delayed their final proposal or whatever they're doing, or because Tom Wheeler apparently freaked out after what Obama said or something like that. I think that was the headline. It was basically Tom Wheeler is crying, we're delaying. I think was the headline.
And nobody's getting Netflix.
Your Netflix days are over.
Netflix.
All right. Tim, you got apps or anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, I've got one game I would like to talk about. The game is called Two Dots, from the makers of Dots, the original Dots game, where you just make little squares with the same colored dots. This one, Two Dots, is essentially the same thing, except in Two Dots you have to complete challenges and go through different levels. The original Dots, there is only one level. I think they might have changed that up afterwards. I stopped playing after like 6 months or something because the game never changed. You know, there was really nothing ever to do. You just try and see how far you can go in a certain amount of time. With Two Dots, I've gotten to level 10 so far, but from what I can tell, you have challenges. You have to get 10 red dots, 10 blue dots, 10 green dots, and then it just gets harder. The amount of moves you have to make within a certain challenge gets fewer. And it's actually a lot of fun. It's a good sequel to Dots. So if you do enjoy Dots and that type of Dots gameplay, then I do highly recommend it. I just shared it into the IRC chat room, which we didn't mention before, but we do have an IRC chat room, which people should know about. And I just shared it. So yes, Two Dots, from the makers of Dots. If you like Dots, check out Two Dots. Thank you. That's a lot.
I still haven't played it, but I really need to because I was a huge fan of the original Dots.
You were, absolutely, and I said, dude, Two Dots, and you're like, what's Two Dots? I was like, from the makers of Dots, or the maker of Dots. So yeah, it's cool, and it looks good. It's very flat. You know, it has, what's nice is if you have KitKat or newer, it does have immersive mode, so it kind of takes up your whole display, and it looks really good. The music's pretty sick, and gameplay is smooth. I dig it, and it's free to download, which is a huge plus for a lot of Android fans. Don't worry, I got all your backs out there.
You always do. You always do.
Yeah, all you LimeWire users out there.
My Share Bear brothers.
Share Bear.
My Cubs.
Ron, did you have an app you want to talk about?
My Cubs. Yeah. So ViscoCam, or ViscoCam, or however you're supposed to pronounce them, came out with a new update today for iOS and Android. So the big changes are, I mean, they did updates all around, but Visco has always had the grid where you can upload your pictures, and they've always kind of said that they're not competing with Instagram. So like they've always had the ability to share your photos straight on Instagram and all that. But now they've kind of changed things up a little bit so that you can add text to the photos and things like that, and you can kind of put together. It's a little bit more expansive with what you can do with it. The editing tools are just as crazy to try and understand what's going on. So like none of the UI has actually been improved in a way that a normal human could understand what's going on. But it's still, so I mean, overall it's the same app. One of the other things that's in here is in the updated options here is it's got split focus exposure on select HTC devices. So I'm assuming that means you can adjust exposure based on which of the two sensors you're using, which is kind of cool. But that's the big thing. So if you're using Visco, it's got they've updated that now. I don't use it, but if you want to use it, you can. I mean, it's got good editing features in there, but the UI is just still really, really bad. Like,
I just installed it. I have some friends that use it. Well, I see all their Instagram photos. They hashtag
Visco.
Yeah, and it's like so like you still have to import pictures, which is annoying. So like if you took a picture in your normal camera app, it doesn't just access your camera roll. You have to manually import them, which who wants to do that? It's just
oh yeah, you're right.
That's not very intuitive.
No, it's not. So it's I don't know.
Oh yeah, you're right. I just imported.
Yeah.
Why am I importing? Yeah, why can't it just access, like Lollipop opened up all of this. I guess I need a Lollipop update. All right, well, I'll be not using that.
I like their Hype Beast filter, which they've had, since the first launch, I believe. So they do have some good filters, but the overall app is basically unusable in my book. Just the way I can't figure out any of the symbols they've got. Like, what is this little flag?
With some time, you learn how to do it, and like once you actually get into a picture and use the editing tools, like that part is actually nice. But Instagram has that already, so. I mean,
Instagram,
they still had it before, but once Instagram added it, I was like, okay, I really don't see the point. Like, I was already using Snapseed, and then Instagram added it, so like, there's just already so many other options that I don't know. Like, people really, really like the app, but I don't get it. I don't get the appeal.
Just give me HDRscape in Instagram, and life will be good. I can oversaturate all the things.
Just HDRscapes everything.
Gosh.
Gives Ron an instant headache.
Mm-hmm. It's a headache. It's my new app. It's the headache. It's just a series of all the pictures Tim's ever taken.
It's pretty intuitive.
Yeah, it's great. You open the app, pictures are right there. No weird icons. You open it and you're done. It's great.
There was an app I was actually going to toss out there. Well, the new Moto Connect app is kind of got a material design makeover. So if you have Moto 360, Moto Connect got that. Well, it's got Motorola Body or whatever they're calling it, which it kind of had that before. They just renamed it Moto Body, which is like their health kit, basically. Google Fit kit, whatever you want to call it. Anyways, you also get, with the update, and if you have Moto 360, a whole bunch of new watch faces, including the watch face that was in the design face-off, or whatever we call the winner from that. Obviously, it's not the design he submitted, but it's based off of that. And it's pretty awesome. There's also a make-your-own watch face, which you can put your own pictures on and change the dial and numbers and all that stuff. It's a pretty sweet update.
That was a totally sick update.
Yeah, really good. Good job, Moto.
Yes. Now just let us buy the bands.
Yeah, so speaking of those, over the weekend, one of our readers noticed that Moto 360 watch bands were available through AT&T. Well, if we backtrack a little bit more, Motorola announced the metal versions are now available, and they said watch bands are coming. I think we talked about this in the last show. Anyways, one of our readers noticed they were available on AT&T, so we told you guys, go buy them if you want to from AT&T. Tim and I ordered a bunch, and then like Monday morning, they canceled our orders. So we tried to reorder them, and Tim's wouldn't even go through. They just were like fighting him. My order went through, and I looked on PayPal, and my order's still pending as of today. It's been like 4 days. They haven't canceled my order. It's just pending. And I went on AT&T's site today to look to see status or anything. All the watch bands are gone. So clearly AT&T jumped the gun a little bit, so you can't order them. I don't know what's taking so long, why we can't order bands. They were supposed to be in the fall, and I guess it's still technically the fall, but...
This is the Moto 360 experience, and now it's super early and then make you wait forever and ever and ever for any part of the product to ever come out.
That is one thing about Motorola.
Yeah, you're right, Ron.
Yeah, you are.
And I really hate to say it.
That's how
you
right
haven't got to say that in a while, though.
No, that's true. It's good to have you back. I hate always being right, so it's good to have you here.
Yeah, that must be really hard for you, yeah. Not having anybody to tell you how to correctly pronounce words.
Dude, I mean, I get so jacked up on coffee throughout the day. I'm just zooming in my head like going a million miles an hour.
You zoom?
I zoom.
It's a good Scrubs reference.
I don't think I've ever watched that.
Oh, Kellen, come on. The whole thing's on Netflix.
Yeah, that show's been off the air for like 5 years, 10 years. Let's leave it alone.
I don't have.
Let it die.
Wait, you don't have Netflix? What do you
know? I don't.
Who needs
What?
Netflix?
What is happening on over there in Oregon?
So Netflix?
I don't use Netflix all that much, and I have it.
Yeah, so you're just wasting money. Cancel it. You'll be better off in life.
Batman and Batman Returns are on Netflix now. Get it.
It's like my gym membership.
Yeah, I was going to say they're probably on every streaming service.
I probably have those already in my Plex library, so...
Did you get them from LimeWire?
Don't
open the EXE, Dave.
Kazaa Light.
Don't install Batman.
Don't install Batman. No, I canceled Netflix years ago because we do this thing. My wife and I do this thing where we go, oh, let's watch something on Netflix. And we open Netflix, and then we go through all the old garbage on there and go, should we watch that? No. What about that? No. And like 45 minutes later, we still haven't picked anything to watch because it's all old crap. And so we canceled it. And I seriously haven't looked back ever since.
I do feel as if Netflix is getting a bit better.
It's gotten better. Yeah,
absolutely.
100%. It was awful garbage.
Yeah, absolutely. But it has gotten better. You know, the first of the month rolls around. I'm like, all right, what's new on Netflix? You see the blog post coming up like, here's what's new on Netflix. All Robin Williams movies. I'm like, okay. So, You know, it's great. They're really quick on turnaround times. I think, especially with TV stuff now these days too. Like you're seeing, you know, the seasons that were previously out are now hitting Netflix and stuff. So it's good. But again, you know, like I pay for cable, I pay for Hulu, I pay for Netflix. You know, it's hard having all those services, but at the same time, Netflix does have a permanent spot in my home because I do appreciate the service. Although I do not pay the extra for DVD rentals, I find that is a complete waste of money.
No. Yeah, we don't have cable, so my wife and I just pay for Hulu and Netflix. And
So that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
What about HBO Go? No HBO Go, bro?
No.
Oh, you're not living.
You're not living if you don't have HBO. I have HBO Go, but I don't use it either because I just
If I want to have
on my
HBO
TV.
Yeah, well, you have to have a cable subscription to do it, or
Right.
you gotta jack somebody else's credentials.
Whoops.
You gotta go on LimeWire and download those.
I got those online, definitely.
Yeah.
Share Hub.
Your dad's computer is still recovering. It's fine.
So yeah. Anything else? Dave, you have any apps you want to plug or anything?
I do not, but thank you for asking.
Anything on the horizon? Anything on the horizon we should be up for? When are you going to material design all of your icon packs?
Are you talking about just having the icons for that to look like their material counterparts?
No, I mean like you redo your app so that
Like all of them.
you get that really cool animation with the arrow and the hamburger thing when I slide out things.
Dashboard? That's a good question.
Yeah, it is a good question.
It's in progress, and we'll see what happens.
Okay.
Thanks, Dave.
I wish I had an ETA, but I
within
pay
90 days though, right?
I pay my programmers a really low amount, so they only give me their very extra hours.
How many bananas do you give them? the code monkeys throw in bananas.
Only on completion, you get one full banana.
One full banana.
Bill the
A
chimp.
green banana.
You gotta wait.
All right. Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Well, sweet. Anything else anybody wants to talk about?
Thanks for joining us, Ron. Great seeing you. I'll see you next fall.
See you in a couple months, Ronald. All right. Cool. Well, yeah. Thanks for joining us. Episode 73. We are out. Peace.